Guys, this is disturbing. So something happened in a community in the Koba Oka local government area in Edo State, where it was said a mortuary attendant was arrested by the family of a deceased loved one who had come to take their loved one's remains for burial, only to get to the burial ground to find out that multiple parts of his body had been missing in one of the strangest ways you could ever imagine. So, from what we are hearing, the family and friends of this deceased man, whose name we don't know, came to retrieve his body for burial. And upon receiving his body, and I think is now a practice for loved ones to observe their loved ones' remains before they completely bury them. Well, during the process of observing this deceased man's body, the family noticed that something was wrong with his chestal cavity. On the outside, his body looked complete: head, eyes, hands, and legs. However, when they took off the clothes, because usually the body is clothed before taken for burial, they noticed that their loved one's chestal cavity was totally empty, but had been packed and filled up with plastic nylon bags. In a video circulating, you could see a mob of angry youths surrounding the mortuary, attempting to beat the mortuary attendant, who they believe was responsible for this deceased body situation. Luckily for him, somebody called the police, and the police got there on time to save the mortician from being beaten or killed by the angry mob. However, another video started circulating again, and this one is so graphic. We can't even show it here. You would have to go to our Telegram to see it. The link will be in the comments or on our bio. And in this video, you would actually see family of the loved ones checking out the remains of the deceased man and basically pulling out what looks to be multiple packs of nylon bags that had been tucked and shoved inside the chestal cavity of their loved one who they were about to bury. It is believed that his internal organs, the heart, the stomach, the intestine, the liver, the kidney, everything has been taken out of this deceased man, and only God knows what they did to it. In turn, to make it look presentable, they filled him up with nylon bags, foam, and other things to just make it look puffy. And this discovery has sent waves to that community, because now they can't trust this mortuary again. Even those who had buried their loved ones from there and did not check are now suspecting that that could have been the case for their loved ones. The mortuary is being accused of using the body parts for money ritual or selling their the internal organs for some kind of organ harvesting scheme. We are hearing that the police are investigating it, but this is my thought though. Organ harvesting for a dead person, to me, is a little bit a stretch. I don't know what you can use a deceased person's organs for, unless it's for something ritual, unless it's for something spiritual, unless it's for a native doctor, because the idea for organ harvesting is usually mostly for what we know it to be organ transplanting, I would assume. But over here in this part of the world, we are used to it being for ritual purposes. However, when people's organ are stolen, like their kidney, their liver, or certain part of their body, it is supposed to be taken while it's still functioning. That is from what I know. It's usually harvested when the person is alive, when the person is donating, when they want to take it from the person and sell it to a hospital who will now give it to somebody as a donation, some sort of donor. However, if the person is already dead and has been mummified or embalmed, then what exactly do you use the remains for? Like, why would they want to take a dead man's internal organs? Well, again, since it's this part of the world, it's most likely for sorcery, witchcraft, juju, and for a native doctor, for the most part. Another explanation that I can think of is that usually, for what it's worth, taking the internal organs of somebody that is deceased, it's a way of preserving their body and slowing down decay. That is something that I think is most mortuaries do, if that is a word. They do practice that in some cases. To mummify a body, according to the Egyptians, they take off the brain, they take off certain parts of the organs, and they are taken off. That is a way embalming works for the most part. And I don't think many people know this. Most morticians, if they run out of embalming fluid or something to preserve a deceased body, to quickly slow down, or the best option they can usually do is to take out certain internal organs to delay and slow down decomposition. And I think that could have been the case here. However, I guess it's one of those things that the mortician would have to explain in prison, and it's just uncanny. For that to even happen, even you would have to speak to the family and let them know that that is the process you're going by. But if it has to be done behind their back, then it's suspicious. The video was disturbing to watch for the most part.